Deep in the hills outside a quiet village, Aryan spent his afternoons searching for forgotten treasures. He had a knack for finding beauty in things others had thrown away, which is how he ended up in the cool, silent depths of a long-forgotten cave. Tucked behind a stack of loose rocks, he found a heavy chest made of dark, weathered wood. Inside lay a neelmani, a brilliant blue gem, resting on the cover of an ancient book bound in thick, scarred leather. Aryan set the gem in the center of the book's blank first page. Instantly, the cave flooded with light, turning the floating dust into dancing gold embers and pulling the pages of the book into the air. A sparrow fluttered onto a nearby ledge, chirping in a language Aryan could suddenly understand as clearly as his own. The bird warned him that the forest guardians had sensed the gem's awakening and were already racing toward the cave to take it back.
In an instant, Aryan's quiet hobby had pulled him into the path of an ancient power. The cave felt smaller, the shadows longer, and he realized he was no longer alone. The air turned ice cold, and the wind stopped mid-gust. A dark, towering shadow solidified in front of Aryan, its hand reaching out as it demanded he surrender the gem immediately. Aryan's knees shook, and the gem felt like a hot coal against his chest, pulsing in rhythm with his terrified heartbeat. He looked down at the floating pages. Glowing letters burned into the paper with a single command: Dar ko shakti mein badlo, turn fear into power. Aryan forced his hands to stop shaking and gripped the gem tight. He stared directly at the shadow and refused to move, knowing that if he gave in, this power would be used to hurt his village. The moment his resolve hardened, a wave of brilliant blue light surged from his fist, hitting the shadow like a physical wall. The darkness scattered until the cave was quiet once again. The gem responded to his spirit, not his muscles. Aryan had discovered that his willingness to stand his ground was what actually commanded the energy. The walls of the cave began to blur and shift. When the world came back into focus, the rocks looked newer and the air smelled of fresh rain. Aryan had been pulled back a century in time. A white-bearded sage sat by a small fire, watching Aryan with a kind, knowing smile. He had been waiting for the person who would finally answer the gem's call. The sage explained that the test wasn't about fighting, but about intention. Most would have used the gem to gain wealth or fame, but Aryan had used it only to protect. Over the next few hours, the sage showed Aryan how to channel the gem's warmth to heal living things, and how to listen to the whispers of the earth to predict the weather. The power, the sage insisted, must remain a tool for service. Aryan listened intently, realizing that being a guardian meant putting the needs of others before his own comfort. He left the past not as a lucky boy, but as a student of the light. Aryan returned to his own time, walking the familiar paths of his village. To his neighbors, he was still just the boy who collected old things, but he now carried a hidden purpose. He began applying the sage's lessons in secret. When a strange blight started to turn the village wheat gray, Aryan used the gem's pulse to restore the fields. He learned to sense the shift in the air days before a dangerous storm hit, giving the farmers time to secure their homes. The neelmani stayed tucked away in its leather-bound book. It wasn't a prize to be shown off. It was a constant reminder of the promise he had made to the sage. Aryan's life became defined by these quiet acts of service, transforming him into a hero who worked in the shadows for the benefit of everyone else. Looking back at Aryan's journey, we have to ask ourselves, what made him a real superhero? The gem and the book were just tools. They only worked because Aryan possessed the courage to face his fears and the empathy to care for his neighbors. You already have these same qualities within you. You use this same magic every time you help someone who is struggling or speak up when you see something unfair. Being a hero doesn't require finding a hidden cave. It starts with the kindness you show and the courage you practice every day. Remember, Asli Jadu Hamare Andar Hai. True magic is inside us. Your choices are the most powerful force in the world. Use them to build something better, just like Aryan did.